For our next assignment, we're going to be designing children's luggage. The first stages of it, first of all, are just to draw a simple template. That's our first stage, and we're going to do that in class. There's nothing really much to this. There's not really much that you're going to get from doing this. You're just following instructions. This part is where it gets interesting, because now you've got to take that shape, that simple box shape that ensures that you'll get everything drawn in perspective and drawn to scale, and you're going to mold it into a shape that you can use to modify more closely to what it is you're trying to make. And for example, mine is ladybugs, so I own ladybugs. No one can choose ladybugs. This is our third stage, which we're not doing this week. All you're doing this week is searching for your references. Now, the references, as I mentioned, are very important. You're looking for photographs, very detailed, very descriptive photographs. And you're printing them out large so that you can see the details and make use of the details. And then we're going to work on our modifications next week. And no one can do the same product as someone else, so you have to have your product choice approved. So keep thinking about that while I'm talking about these things so that you'll know what you want to do and you'll have first pick. For mine, I had to modify my box quite a bit in order to get to my ladybugs. From this square to get to this, there's an intermediate step, and this is where the gold is. This is where you really get something that's going to make it possible for you to draw anything correctly in perspective. The idea here is to take all the information from the front of the box and transfer it all to the back of the box, because the back of the box, as you know, appears much smaller than the part that's closer to us. And we use an X to make that happen. For the beginning of the class, what you'll be doing is going to the videos, the video in class exercise 4, week 6, and follow the directions there. This just has to be done. You're not going to gain much from that. This is the part that's going to make everything worthwhile. When you start getting a geometric shape or a geometric look to what it is you're after. So this is what you're doing in class. You're doing this. Casting shadows, that's quite fun doing that. And at home you're doing this. You're choosing your reference, you're getting your printouts, and you're making a shape that can then be modified further through thumbnails to result in what it is you're after. So you stop there at home just with these things, and then we'll go from there. Might be a good idea to do some of these things just to figure out where you're going with it. This modification of that square box is where everything lies in terms of gaining knowledge and experience. On your cartridge paper, draw a line straight across, and we'll make a horizon there. So half of your cartridge paper is what we're using. And if you've got your colored pencils, it's helpful because then you can make some variations in the lines that you're using. Now this that we're doing now, remember that it's related to what you're doing at home, what you're going to do at home. So once you have your eye level, we want to go halfway on the page. So remember, for your paper, it's not exactly correct. It isn't equal. Turn your ruler between the parallel lines of your paper and divide that in half. So turn it till you have 18, and 9 is half of 18. So then you've got 9, right? So you put 9 up on your horizon line. This now is our single vanishing point, so that we're going to use to draw anything that we want to draw in one point perspective. Putting it in the middle was really important because that guarantees that we have a 45-degree angle for our 2-point perspective, because the corner of the objects that we draw are right in the center of our view. So that will make it a 90-degree angle with the angle of the things at the front. All it means is that it's a nice, gentle perspective. So let's put a vanishing point over on the left. That's our left VP. And over here is our right vanishing point, RVP. Okay, so that's our left and right vanishing point. We're going to make a little chart over here without any perspective at all. So just give yourself a couple of parallel lines. Now this isn't in perspective, it's just a couple of parallel lines. Use your ruler again and divide that in half. So turn your ruler on an angle until you can divide it in half. So for me, I can use 1.5. So see all those math classes you didn't go to, aren't you wishing you did? There, so our math teachers would be proud of us. We managed, okay. So that's now half. So let's catch up with that in perspective. You see where you'd put your 9? Draw a vertical here, straight across. So bring that measure right across, like that. You just bring that over and bring this over. Use your left vanishing point to draw that line and this line. So now we're taking that box that we started with and now we're drawing it in perspective. This was an elevation and this is our perspective. Go the other way. The idea is that you can plot points on this elevation and then you can kind of graph it out here and then you can do the same thing over here. Let's take a stab at how wide this would be. It's not going to be as wide as that. So if you've got it this wide here, because of foreshortening, this is not going to be able to be that wide over here. So you just make it a little narrower because it's foreshortened. Let's make it even narrower on the thickness. Let's make an X on the front of this box. And an X on the front of the other box. Now remember what the whole point of this exercise is about. It's about transferring information from the front box to the back box. So let's put the back box in because we've got some information now. To make the back box, you use this corner here. Here's our front box appearing larger because it's closer to us. And we've made our back box, it's smaller, a little bit smaller, only that distance away, and it's smaller. We've got a front to our box, a side to our box, a top, and a back. Now let's make an X on the back, but we use a different color. The colors will help us to separate things out. So when you're doing this for your homework, you can use this to help you to separate things out. Let's plot some lines on the front here, and we can use them at the back. Now remember, when you sharpen your pencil crayons, to be careful doing it. These are very soft pencils encased in a very hard wood. When you're sharpening them, take this out. Very gently twist so that you're not yanking and cranking on it, because you could break the whole lead inside. And you get a nice sharp point because this is an excellent sharpener. So we've got our X on the front, our X on the back, our X over here. Let's start plotting some little things. I'm going to plot 2 points right there. See what I've done here? I've got this much space on this side. If you want, you can use a piece of paper to help you to get the same thing on the other side, or you can eyeball it. It's a good idea to get used to eyeballing things, because if you're in a meeting and you're going fast but you have to be accurate, you want the skill of eyeballing. And everyone will look at you and say, look, she's eyeballing. Or he's eyeballing. Wow. Everyone, clients are a fan of eyeballing. They think it's pretty neat. We just have to figure out where that is on here. So we can actually bring that over and put a mark. Bring that over and put a mark. Everybody see? You bring that over, put a mark. And I can use my vanishing point now. And the great thing about that X, the X is a wonder machine, because when I bring this over, it's going to cross my X. See how it crosses my X? And then I can get the box here as well. And now I know where that same box that I had over on this one is over here. Okay, so whatever I plan to put there, I got it placed right there. We brought this over and cut across. See, this part is key. Where it touches the side is kind of key. That's what we brought over. We brought that over because we had to impose the vanishing point on it. Everything I draw on this plane, I have to use that left vanishing point to draw it. So we brought that over, brought the box over here. We can project this a couple of ways. We can bring it over like this. This is probably the best way. So now I'm taking this corner of that little box and bringing it over to my X. I've got the green X at the back, so that's helping me figure that out. So now I've got this, so it's easy. I can just bring these over. So this isn't difficult, but it's frustrating because you've got a lot of lines going on. And maybe you won't be able to do it. Maybe you won't. But if you have patience and you're focused and you don't give up, you'll learn it. And then you've got it, and it's gold. Let me tell you, this is gold. Okay, so now we've got that box in there. Where I put it, there's less space down here and more space at the top. I'm going to trim down a little bit of this side here. And if I want to, I can trim it down on the other side using a piece of paper. Where it crosses my X, I make a little notch on my paper. Or I can just simply bring it across, which is easier. And it means more lines, or it doesn't have to. You just put a notch. You don't always have to draw a line when you're bringing something over. So I can bring this over. Notice that I bring it over to the corner. I bring it over to here. Because remember, you have to use your vanishing point. You can't just leave it on the edge like that. You have to use the vanishing point. So now I'm going to bring it over to the vanishing point. And it gives me, it crosses my red X here and here. So I'm going to bring it down from there. So when you're looking for the geometric shape within your object, you're going to need to do this too. You're going to need to map it out. This helps a lot. You have to map it out as an elevation so you can plot it out on the face. This point is really important too because it's our center. Okay, but I think this is maybe enough of a demonstration so you can understand. So we'll start now to sketch this together. If this is where this begins to round out, I can round this out. Now, I would, if I were drawing this, I would plot a whole lot more points. But since we're just doing this just to get an idea of what the concept of plotting is about, this will be enough for today. And we'll just do, see, there's our, we've got a, see, I would have plotted more points. I would have plotted where these 2 points are. I'd have brought them across. So I'd have plotted, yeah, we'd have plotted a lot more points, but just for fun to see, I would have a nice little fat violin. So you would see, oh, this could stop there. And you've noticed when you're doing this, all of the rhythms and the beautiful way in nature and how man has taken all of the beauty in nature and put those, the symmetry and the design into their designs. You'd see how that works. Plotting points like this, you can see that. So here I would just go about the same thing. As I said, I would plot more of these points, but we'd have enough that we could start to jazz this up, so to speak. I could bring across this point, which is there. So this is going to be where this is. Then this comes down to here. This goes over to here, down to here. You see? So it makes something that is seemingly quite complex not so troubling. And with a few more points, this could have been even less troubling, but just that, I thought that was enough for us to be plotting. And you'd have, and then you see, you'd have plotted all these same lines on the back. We looked at how you do that using the X. And then you'd join them all up. And what you'd have is, but you can't take shortcuts like this. You've got to map it all out. You'd have a chubby little violin rolling case. And the handle, it would stick up quite nicely at the back for rolling. So your young Mozart would have a handle to pull their luggage with. So hopefully that's enough for everybody to get the idea of plotting the points out first. And this diagram is really kind of helpful for that. And then how you transfer them from front to back. And it's really such a phenomenal way to get this all to go together. And then the next time out, we won't do it this time, but the next time out, we'll do it to scale. We'll give ourselves measurements for everything, and then we'll know exactly how big everything is relative to each other. So, for example, if this is what I chose for my motif, then I would look for reference, and I found some really great reference for my violin, because if you're working with a client and this is what they've asked you to do, you need to know the language. So this is great, huh? I've got my peg box, my scroll, my neck, my upper boot, and my lower boot, and my F holes, and my waist. So you see, having great reference is extremely important so that you look intelligent, you can speak about things that you've never met before, and use them.